Hey guys and dolls, today I'm going to be sharing with you my foundation routine, and this isn't like what I do when I have like 5 minutes to leave the house. This is like when I'm doing like full coverage foundation. This is when I bust out, you know, all the foundations and all the concealers and the blush and the powder and the oh my. So this is that, you know, super perfected look. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to do my freckle. I was just looking at myself in the mirror and I realized I didn't do my freckle. So this portion should have been at the end of the video, but it wasn't. It's right here at the beginning. So I fill in my large freckle here under my eye and this one here on my cheek because it gives the illusion that your skin is more perfected when you have some freckles showing. So there's a tip for you right here at the beginning of the video. I can't believe I forgot that. I'll have a full list of all the products that I used in the description box down below, as well as shopping links if you want to go ahead and purchase any of the items that I've shown you today and all that nice neat stuff. Check out Vintageortacky.com. I just did a redesign if you wanna see what I did. I don't know if I'm really loving it or not. I'm trying to do it myself and I don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the foundation routine. For any foundation to look amazing, you gotta start out with a well-prepped skin, and that doesn't even just mean primer, I mean moisturizer. What I use on the daily is the CeraVe Am facial moisturizing lotion. This has an SPF of 30 and it's for normal to dry skin. My skin tends to produce oil, but my skin itself is a little bit dry, so that's kind of a little bit of a bummer to have that combination skin. Now I also use an eye cream. This is the Fast Response eye cream from MAC. This is a very silky, silicone-y type of eye cream. It's not like a heavy-duty preventative or anything like that, but it creates a nice canvas for the makeup to go on top of. When it comes to primer, I've really been loving this one from Urban Decay. It's the Naked Skin Beauty Balm. This stuff has just the most silky texture. It's amazing. I find that it does a really great job of smoothing out the texture of my pores without being one of those heavier silicone type primers. This one is completely different from that because it has more of like a silky, fluid lotion type texture. It does have a slight tint. So I'm going to go ahead and do the applicazione. And I also like that this one has additional sunscreen because like if I'm having one of those days where I'm just like running out of the house and I don't have time for the moisturizer, I can just throw this on because I know I'm going to get a little bit of sunscreen out of this too. Of course, you can't have a foundation video without actual foundation, and so I'm gonna have a list for you guys on Vintageortacky.com, my 3 faves that I'm using at the moment, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just gonna be using the Naked Skin Foundation from Urban Decay. This has a thin, almost watery texture, so what I like to do is get a little bit of this, and I use a petri dish to dispense my foundation. Now this is about keeping everything sanitary. Now this does have a pump, so you could very well just put this straight on your sponge if you want. I think that that's kind of a waste. You're going to get too much makeup in your sponge. Some people like to use the back of their hand as a palette. You could use a small tea saucer or something, whatever works for you. This is just a stainless steel petri dish. It's nothing fancy. A lot of people ask me about my palettes and a friend gave it to me, so that's all I know. Now after all this hullabaloo, let me show you how I do my foundation. So I'm going to go ahead and I actually mix the shades of the Naked Skin Foundation because I found that the 0.5 was too light and the number 1 was too deep, so I mix them. I take a little Q-tip and I mix them together like so, and then I let that sit for about a minute. And the reason why I do this, it seems like such a weird thing to do, is it makes it a little less runny. So gonna let that sit out. Zhuzh the hair. How about them Dodgers, you guys? So the tool that I use to apply my foundation is a sponge, and for a long time I was using the Beauty Blender. Now I'm using the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion sponge. I did a video the other day comparing these two sponges, so if you haven't checked it out yet, I would highly recommend it. I have a link for that right here in the video, as well as a link in the description box for you guys if you want to go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. So what I like to do is use the flat side of the sponge to apply the majority of the makeup, and I will dip the sponge in the makeup and then I'll kind of pounce it on there to sort of get some of the excess product off. That way I have a nice even layer. I typically start at my cheeks for some reason. I don't know, it just seems like a good landing spot. And I just pounce it. You can see how that's just leaving a nice amount of coverage without, you know, looking cakey or streaky or any of those yucky words that we just don't even want associated with our makeup, right? So I'm just sponging it on in a pouncing, dabbing motion. And if I need more coverage in an area, I kind of press a little harder and then roll it off. And then pounce back in case there's like a weird line or something. And this sponge is so great at getting on like all these little nooks and crannies. Nooks and crannies! Now this is like everyday foundation that I'm doing, and I'm not like applying my eye makeup and then applying my foundation. I'll kind of go over my eyelids a little bit with the foundation. Like today I'm not going to really do any eyeshadow, so I'm just going to put a little color there. So what I'm going to do is take what's left of the foundation here and mix in a little bit of a concealer. Now that's a lot of concealer actually. This concealer that I'm using is the MAC Pro Longwear, and so I'm just going to mix that with one side of what's left of the foundation. I don't need to, you know, fully mix in the whole thing. Now I'm going to take a concealer brush, and I like to apply it in like sort of like a V or a triangular formation here. So I'll do a little that. Now I'll take that flat side of the sponge and just pounce that out. And because the foundation is mixed in with the concealer, it has a seamless, perfect blend. So now that I have all the foundation on, I'm going to go ahead and set that with powder. Lately I've been using the Ben Nye Neutral set, which is a powder that I've had for a long time. I stock it in my kit. Oh, I haven't used this powder in a while. I wonder if I still really like this on myself, so I tried it and I do. So what I do is I take the Petri dish and flip it upside down, and I dispense a little bit of powder into the, you know, the underbelly side. It's almost like a little cup. Then I use the side of the sponge to apply the powder, so I'll just press it in there, knock off the extra. And this powder, it doesn't matter if you kind of over apply it because it's very, very translucent. And at least for me personally, I'm very pale, so it's not going to show up. Now, if you want a more tinted powder, Ben Nye also sells powders that have a little bit of a tint, so you can, you know, if you have a darker skin shade, or if you want to use a powder as like a little bit of a corrector, or if you just want a powder that has a little bit of a tint. I know I tend to like powders that have a bit of a tint to give me a little extra coverage. Ben Nye has a powder like that for you. So for the under eye, I will take the part that had the, you know, the actual foundation on it and use that to set all up in there. Now that I'm all set with the powder, I need to knock off the excess, so you can take a fluffy brush like either one of these. This one's from Real Techniques, this one's from Wayne Goss. Again, the price difference is huge and they do about the same thing, but this one is more luxurious. So go ahead and knock off any excess powder. Just lightly buff this over the face. Not even buff, like sweep. Sweep it gently, make it nice. So I'm not going to go into details about my eye makeup today because it's super, super minimalistic. Just a little bit of, you know, a classic brow fill and some cream eyeshadow stick stuff and some mascara. It's really not all that exciting. This is just about the foundation portion, so I just kind of want to skip over that. I do, however, want to show you guys what I do for sculpting, and this is kind of what I do on the daily. This is the NYX Taupe blush, and this is a MAC 109 brush. Get a little bit on there, and then make the magic happen. So I take that just underneath my, like, cheekbone. And at first I do like a motion like this to just sort of get the color on. And then I'll use a little bit of a buffing motion to make it softer so it's not like some weird dark streak on my face. It will kind of blend it in a bit. And then again along the jawline. You see how that makes my features pop a bit more? Some people like to do a little contouring right here because having that shadow again makes this portion look like it's popped forward a bit more. At this point I have sort of like a basic foundation on, but I do also typically use the Ambient light powders from Hourglass. These are fan-freaking-tastic. There's a reason why everyone loves them. And here's the thing, they're really expensive and the effect that they give is subtle. It's not like a big glittery highlight. It's not, you know, it's not so obvious, particularly on camera. Sometimes people really can't see what they do. However, it's because the effect is so subtle that everyone loves them so much, because they're beautiful and it's like listening to, you know, soft jazz or something. It's got a sophistication to it. So the first one that I'm going to use is Diffused Light, and this one is a light yellow powder, and this is going to help minimize redness in areas where it still tends to break through in my skin. So for me, that's like the chin area. I'm very red in there. Usually a little bit right here. Now some people use these as just their, you know, initial setting powders. I like to go over what I've used to set the makeup with these because I don't want to apply a whole lot. Now I'm going to use Dim Light, and I'm sorry, the brush that I'm using is from Hakuhodo. Love this brush. And I like to use this one on my cheeks, almost where I would apply blush, and a little bit above, like onto the cheekbone area. This one gives me this cool effect that's somewhere in between bronzer and highlighter because it has a little tiny bit of shimmer, but it's a bit deeper than my skin tone, so it gives me a little flash of color, gives me a little glow. It's fantastic. It's like pale girl bronzer, because sometimes when you're very pale, if you apply bronzer, it's like, and you're not like going for that look, it can look a little funky. But if you have something like this that gives you that subtle but glowy look, I have a lot of favorite blushes that I can show you. You know, NARS Orgasm is always a favorite. Another favorite of mine is the Cargo Blu-ray blush. But for this kind of subtle look that I'm going for today, I'm going to use an Hourglass blush. This is the Radiant Magenta blush. First of all, can we talk about how pretty the packaging is on these products? Oh, I love it. So I am going to use this. Now, this is a pretty pigmented blush, and I feel like the first pass that I do with it, it's so pretty. And I have to be careful with the second pass, because otherwise it gets a little too like peachy on me. But seriously, can we talk about how pretty that is? Oh my gosh, I love it. So now that we have all of this done, let me show you some finishing touches that really make a look fantastic. And you don't even really have to try that hard. So I'm going to take my contour shade and I'm going to contour my crease with that just a little bit. The big blending brush doesn't have to be precise. In fact, the whole point is for it to not be precise. And then take your blush color and also put that in your crease. It's going to show up a lot deeper on your eye, and that's fine. In fact, you can even blend it over the eye a little bit if you want. Take Diffused light and a fluffy brush and use that to highlight the underbrow. And then I'm going to apply, well, I am applying a plum tone lipstick to bring out my eyes. This is Plumrose from Milani. Love this one. Go ahead and dab the lipstick a little bit so it's not as like crazy full coverage, and just like wipe off whatever, you know, is on your finger on a tissue or something. And also you'll notice that I didn't like apply the lipstick to the bottom lip. I just applied it to the top lip and stamped it down. So the last and final step for me is to use the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. You can use whatever setting spray you want, or don't do this at all. I just personally am addicted. I think it's amazing. So this is how I do that ultra perfected skin where I have a little bit of a glow. Everything's subtle but perfected. And I wanted to share this with you guys because so many times that I do a tutorial, there's just not enough time to show the foundation. It makes the video too long, and if it's the same thing over and over, it's boring in my opinion. And so what I do is I end up listing it on my blog, but I don't really show you guys how I apply these things or why I apply certain things like these, you know, ridiculously expensive Hourglass products. Use what you like, find products that work for you, and then work on perfecting your technique with them, and you'll have a flawless face in no time. If you're interested in any of the products that I use today, I'll have a list of links and everything in the description box down below for you, as well as a link to Vintageortacky.com. I recently did a little bit of a blog redesign and would kind of like to get your guys' I would like to get your guys' like feedback about what you guys think about the new blog redesign. You know, I'm trying to do it myself and I don't know how to do anything. Okay, anyway, I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Remember to just be yourself. See you, bye. Hi guys and dolls, today I'm going to be doing a smackdown between two different cosmetic sponges. One costs a little bit more than the other, quite a bit more in fact. Now, once again I heard, oh, you know, a beauty blender dupe, and I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. I love this sponge. I would say this is a better than dupe. Yes, I said it, kids, better than the original. This sponge is only $5.99, so can we get a holla for the cheap dollar products, whatever. I don't know what that was.